Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Really happy that you take some time out of your day to join us. My name is Barry Kane. I am an enterprise solutions architect on the Bonterra team. And first off, we just to set the table here, we're here to learn all about Bonterra's strategic philanthropy support offerings. And that conversation starts by recognizing that all of us here, we share a common goal, right? And that's for your team to be able to tap into the full power and potential of the platform to streamline and optimize your CSR programming. It's all about automation, it's about efficiency and simplicity, leading to a maximum impact. You're leveraging the platform to take on the tasks that would otherwise burden you and your teams, right? So we want you in a place where you have more time in your day to be proactive and strategic, to innovate and focus on important stuff that will result in the steady growth and the optimization of your programs. It's a simple concept, but we know that you can face resource challenges that can stand in the way of getting you to that place. So over the years, I've worked with customer contacts who are tasked with supporting the oversight of their CSR programs in very small teams, and sometimes literally just a team of one. And there just aren't enough hours in the week to focus on your growth and strategy. You're balancing everything that you do in our system with all of the other responsibilities that you have. You probably have a similar story to tell, I'm sure. So today, we're here to let you in on some game-changing options for your usage of Bonterra's strategic philanthropy offerings. So imagine getting a new member of your team who comes to the table loaded with comprehensive knowledge, not only of your portfolio of CSR programs, but also of our system and all of its functional options and offerings. And then, your new teammate joins you as a technical consultant, a strategic coach, a systems trainer, an admin super user. And those are critical skills to you reaching your goals faster and with greater ease and agility. It's essentially a difference maker in your mission to level up your programs. So here's a preview of where we're headed during our time together this afternoon. To start off, I'm going to walk you through what exactly Bonterra support is. And as we make our way through the core concepts, I'll be joined by a few of my fellow Bonterrans to take a deeper dive into strategic program consulting, introduce you to what an advanced support consultant brings to the table, and finally, to explain the various packages we're offering to best fit your team's needs. So there's lots of great info to share with you here. And why don't we take a moment and get you acquainted with your tour guides? So on our far left is Anne Tremblay, the Consulting Director of Strategic Philanthropy. Anne will be walking us through what strategic program consulting entails. And to her right is Katie Watson, Senior Manager of Advanced Support Consulting. Katie oversees our talented team of support consultants, and she'll let you all in on what part her team plays in these offerings. Next to Katie is Chris Parks, Bonterra's Director of Professional Services. Chris is going to walk us all through the support package offerings, all of them scaled to fit the needs of our customers, whether you're part of a global corporation or a small and mighty foundation. And then that's me over on the far right. I just started my 18th year working with and supporting our clients' CSR programs. And while I'm speaking to you today as an enterprise solutions architect, I started out on the client services and support team managing and supporting the accounts of a number of our customers. So gives me a pretty unique perspective on what our support packages can offer you. So let's dive into Bonterra's enhanced and premier support. In my introduction, I made reference to shared goals. And these goals are undoubtedly rooted in these two important statistics. Firstly, that a third of brand reputation is tied to how the public perceives a company's CSR practices. And this weighting is only on an upward trajectory, and it's going to become a more critical differentiator in the years to come. Additionally, companies have been shown to experience 52% less churn or attrition when employees are offered and engaged in giving and volunteerism programs. So those are just two of the reasons it's critical for your programs and offerings to be engaging, to be rewarding, and easy to navigate, right? There's a lot at stake. Being able to integrate an additional layer of support to your team can reinforce the foundational pillars of your programs. There's some really great stories to share as well. Here are just a few examples of what these valuable partnerships can produce. So we see our friends at Shipped. They were able to double employee participation in their annual volunteer work. And to their right, Excel Energy, they granted 4.4 million to 426 nonprofit orgs in 2022 to advance access to STEM education and drive sustainability practices. Then we have Novartis, who reduced managed access grant approval turnaround time from 5 days down to 5 hours, ensuring that life-saving medicine could reach patients for whom time is everything. And, we're responsible for supporting 21% of all corporate giving domestically, and over half of the Fortune 100 are counted among our customer base. So among those great stats, there's one in particular that speaks directly to what we're talking about here today with our technical support services. So it's right there in the middle. Over 1,000 technical projects have been successfully executed in partnership with our customers over the years. All of that experience makes up the foundation of the best practices that our dedicated technical consultants are bringing to the table for you. So these support offerings, they're born out of a statistic that might align with some of your experiences. So I spoke of how CSR ties into public perception, right? 58% of CSR professionals are really struggling to meet high expectations that are associated with their programs. So that results in, no doubt, feeling overwhelmed by the day-to-day support demands, by being frustrated by programs that are needlessly complex, difficult for employees to navigate. Those are the kind of factors that prevent you from getting to the place where you get to focus on what's really important to you. So we're going to pause just for a minute here to check in, to see how you and your team are feeling. We've got a poll for you. We'd love to hear back from you and give you a few seconds to make a decision.
Yeah, as votes are trickling in here, it looks like most people are either both overwhelmed or frustrated, but there's a couple more people that are just frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, mileage varies, but we hear you. All right. Thank you, Ashley. So the question is, how do you overcome those obstacles? So with the crucial added layer of expert consultation and support, you can go from being overwhelmed to feeling enthusiastic and excited, from a state of frustration to a place where you're innovating rapidly, your programs are optimized, and they're realizing their full potential. Our proactive program and platform design expertise can be a game changer if you've got a resource-challenged team. And now you got to ask why. So there are so many reasons why enhanced support is an investment that makes sense, right? Our support services deliver the program and design expertise that can unlock your platform's potential. We designed our support services to deliver the program and design expertise that does just that. Our support packages are a set of professional and support services that help teams build impactful programs and design a scalable platform. And it's all coordinated by a single consultant. So what can happen when you unlock your platform? All kinds of exciting stuff. You get to spend more time on strategy rather than managing the minutia. You can run more impactful programs and engage your employees more deeply, and they amplify the NPOs. Improve the scalability of your software so it can grow with your organization's needs. Prioritize your team and employees with that advanced support. So now we can dive into the specifics of each of those components of the offering. So here we can compare what you're currently experiencing with the standard support offering. Compare that against the enhanced and the premier support tiers, right? So we've highlighted the real game changers, that escalated top of queue response times for members of your admin team and for employees and nonprofits. And the consultative services offerings are exclusive to enhanced and premier support. And here's a model of what your enhanced support experience might look like moving forward. Starting out our journey together in year one, we immediately focus on your growth plan and prioritize your projects. And you and your employees and MPO partners all enjoy the enhanced support experience. And then that carries over into the next year and beyond, allowing your teams to continually innovate and be proactive to refresh and optimize your programs and keep you ahead of the curve. So let's look at the extensions and solution credits your teams can utilize to fast track your projects. Each tier is sized to fit your needs. So your CSR roadmap is proportional to the size of your company or foundation, and the enhanced and premier tiers allow you to choose the package that best fits your needs. And then the enhanced support experience extends beyond your team. Your employees and nonprofit partners enjoy those escalated SLAs. They can reach out via phone or email to engage with our support team directly. And if you're like me, you want to be able to find answers independently whenever possible. Our help center is such an invaluable resource for self-service how-to content. There's a vast library of functional definitions and guides, training documents and videos, and it's all there to position you for greater independence and expertise. And I mean, I know, I use it every day, trust me. It's like, it's a great tool for us as well. The Help Center content, it's being continually refreshed, and it's updated and includes release notes and documentation on all newly added standard features and functionality. So it really is truly a great resource, and can't talk about it enough. So let's dive into each of these core concepts and offerings. I'm going to be calling on my teammates shortly, who I briefly introduced to you a few minutes ago, to tell you what you need to know. In a moment, Ann Tremblay is going to fill you in on what strategic program consulting entails. And then Katie and Watson will follow Ann by giving us a thorough breakdown of who an advanced support consultant is and what it is they can do for you and your team, like task-based assistance, along with the strategic and consultative expertise that they bring with them when they join your administrative team. Finally, Chris Parks is going to walk us through the core concepts of proactive design and maintenance and the advantage of bundled extensions and solutions credits. All right, so if we're all ready, I'd like to pass the mic over to Ann Tremblay, and she said she's going to be shining the spotlight on strategic program consulting. Ann.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Barry. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Tremblay. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to introduce you to a relatively new offering of ours called Strategic Program Consulting. Barry, you can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So I'll just introduce myself briefly before we get started. I have spent my entire career in mission-driven roles, either on the agency side or in-house. On the agency side, I worked with Cone Communications and GMMB, and then on the in-house side, I was with Dunkin' Brands for about 7 years. I led communications for our corporate foundation and was deeply involved in our corporate grant making, our disaster relief fund, and employee volunteering efforts. And I'm excited to bring this expertise to work with our strategic philanthropy customers to help you run incredible programs. All right. Okay, thank you. So you might be wondering, what is strategic program consulting? And that's a great question. Like I said, it's a relatively new offering. I like to describe it as we are bringing expertise on out of software elements that are going to help you be successful in your software and make the most of your software investment. So you see all these bubbles up here with potential things that we can help with, from content creation to helping you with volunteer events, your engagement strategy, internal communications, et cetera. So thinking through that kind of strategic layer that is going to help you be successful with your CSR program, so that you're, you can be successful on software as well. All right, let's move on. So let's talk through a couple elements of this strategic program consulting. For premier support customers, you are going to be able to have access to an annual strategic planning process with us. That means we'll look at the year to come and have a plan that we lay out with goals, KPIs, and that we'll be able to track throughout the year. We'll be able to track progress against it, and also it will help us identify any potential strategic projects that we can help you with. So those strategic projects, there's a list of them that I'm going to go through, but basically you'll have access to our team to help with, if you're an enhanced support customer, with one strategic project, if you're a premier customer, with 2 strategic projects. And that could be anything from new program development to staff training to developing an internal communication strategy. And then the last component here is we will participate in some strategic business reviews where we track that progress that you're making throughout the year and think through how you're doing against your goals, and then offer some insights and recommendations based on that. And so enhanced support customers will have access to us for 2 of those business reviews, and then premier support for quarterly reviews. Yeah, Barry, thank you. All right, so just to recap what's included, if you are an enhanced support customer, you get 1 strategic project a year and participation in 2 strategic business reviews. Premier customers get an annual planning process, 2 strategic projects, and then participation in 4 strategic business reviews. All right, so these potential strategic projects that you have access to if you buy one of these support packages, this is a list that is somewhat comprehensive. We wanted to provide a menu, but I just want to note here that you can actually, if there's a custom project that you're interested in, that's something we can discuss. Custom project based on your goals, your business, what you're planning on doing for the year. But we do have a menu of options. So under employee engagement here, we can provide help with things like end user persona development, thinking through your end user employee or NPO, I'm sorry, in this case, employee, thinking through their experience and how to improve that if needed. We can prepare an ambassador recruitment strategy and help you with activation, create a toolkit for ambassadors. We can help with a new volunteer month or volunteer week initiative. And all the way down the list, if you have new staff or team members, we can also help with staff training and up-leveling staff as well in different CSR topics. And then on the grant side here, we can help with all sorts of things as well, from developing a new application for a new grant program, thinking through grantee outreach and communications, creating impact reports, impact report templates, doing a competitive landscape analysis, so benchmarking peers and competitors. So again, like a menu of options that you can choose from, with the option also to do a custom project. All right, we can move forward. All right, so I wanted to talk through 2 case studies today, just to ground us in what this work can look like. The first is Expedia. So we worked with Expedia a couple of years ago. They had started a grant program called the Made to Travel Fund. This is a fund that is focused on accessible travel. And they had initially started it with an invite-only process with 9 grantees that they invited. And they felt that they were really successful and felt a lot of excitement about the project. This is something they wanted to keep going, to formalize, to refine. So they wanted to get software to make their process more efficient. And then also we helped them create different processes and different guidelines for their grant making program that are based on trust-based philanthropy principles. So this looked like helping them think through grant cycles, what that would look like from the NPO experience, the nonprofit organization experience, excuse me, and the internal experience for them. We created an application that was easy enough for smaller nonprofits to focus on without focusing on questions like a nonprofit's ability to promote the grant. So thinking through a more equitable way for nonprofits to apply. And then we actually worked in collaboration with the 9 first grantees to create an impact report that all grantees would be able to complete. And then lastly, we helped them with an internal review process to optimize their efficiency internally. And then we have a second case study. I wanted to showcase something different so you can get an idea of the breadth of the work that our team can do with you. This was working with Sanofi on their We Volunteer Month. This is a global initiative, but their US team needed help executing in the US. And so they really needed what they positioned as like a control center or a customer service desk for We Volunteer Month. So we created a process for their employees to request volunteer events for their teams. We liaised with nonprofits to find those opportunities, to coordinate those events. And then we provided reporting for the US We Volunteer Month to roll up to the global report, like final global report. and then compiled stories from We Volunteer Month to be used in different Sanofi communications internally and externally. And so I wanted to show these two case studies because we can provide a kind of a strategic programmatic layer and be your thought partner. And then we can also help with execution and staff augmentation in cases where you need that. So now I'm ready to turn it over to Katie, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Ann Watson, and as stated before, I'm the Senior Manager of the Advanced Support Consultants. You can go ahead and get into the next slide. So I know, of course, there are more than a few people that are wondering what exactly is an advanced support consultant and what do you get when you get one. So essentially, an advanced support consultant is a hands-on consultant that will coordinate and help you execute your services. Will act as like a single point of triage for your enhanced and premier service by even like helping you with executing your services based on your roadmap, develop with your strategic coach, client-led initiatives, set goals, requested changes, scope deliverables. And some of the other things that they will also help you tackle is the software configurations, which can tend to be some of the most like daunting part of it, right? Especially when dealing with a whole new platform and product that you may have never seen before, including basic site design. Will also help with new and existing product training and user webinars to review the system updates and gather new requirements, insights dashboards, ad hoc reporting, which we do get quite often. It's, I think, one of our #1 requested things. And of course, best practice recommendations, because we also want to make sure you're getting the most out of your service and product so that you can also make the most impact. Go ahead. I also wanted to introduce you to the team as well. We are a very friendly team. We feel like once we work with you, we are pretty much also part of your company too, right? So some of the team that we have is Michelle Reichman. She's really amazing. She is obsessed with Six Flags and Disney. She loves Halloween. And although she has arachnophobia, she has never been afraid to take a challenging project. And I mean, there has been a lot of challenges thrown her way, but the way that she takes it is so amazing. She oftentimes calms our clients down because she is able to see exactly what they need and make sure she's able to get ahead of it, which is really great. We also have Janusz. He was surprisingly penalized for working in retail and misspelling the name James. I don't know how that's possible, but because of it, he is a stickler about making sure his work is personalized and making sure people feel like heard and seen. So I promise you, he will never forget your name once he knows it. He's also sand surfed in Australia, and he has been able to successfully navigate Japan's airport train system, somehow by mistake. But he's also able to easily navigate a lot of the curveballs that are thrown with these reports that we get all the time. Lastly, we have Helga. She is extremely patient, a very calming presence. She loves gardening and reading. She speaks 4 languages and knows quite a bit about when it comes to projects and being able to tackle them from multiple angles and making sure to give you the most options to get it done. And this is just some of our team. Now, some of the use cases in which you might need an ASC or where we'll be perfect with helping you out with a few things. So some of them are managing and updating organizational profiles, especially like when you are getting new admins or when you are switching them out. It can be a bit much just to go through that and do these ad hoc things, especially when you have bigger things to deal with. Changes to the Giving Program site to reflect specific documentation. There are a lot of fields. We do have a robust platform that can do a lot. And we also want to make sure that you are doing it right so that you are getting the accurate information you need for those reports and things. Platform training for new program administrators. And even if you're not new, there are things that I feel like often slip through the cracks, features that are not utilized that could actually be making your campaign even more successful or more efficient. And we're here to not only point that out, but make sure you know how to use it and help you with using it as well. And then setting up standard disaster relief programs, which was extremely helpful and one of the biggest things that I felt the most impacted by because I'm from Florida and recently with Hurricane Milton, to be able to be a part of helping these companies raise funds and to see that impact, it really did touch us. So we really do care about what we do here. And it's important to know that the ASC can actively complete administrative tasks and services, but only with explicit direction and approval from the customer and client. We're not just going to go in there and do things ad hoc we're working in tandem with you. So we also make sure that we reach out to you. We do have standard calls that happens weekly, as well as keeping you on track with your programs and things. But usually it will be something that you will tell us to do, and we will go in there and do it. Or if we do see something that is a little off or may not be working, we'll also reach out to you and let you know. But it will always be something that was already set ahead of time so that you guys know ahead of time what's going on. We go to the next slide. So one of the scenarios that I wanted to show you guys that we get quite common, we would have a client reaching out asking, we're closing the call for an application and would like to avoid new applicants. How can it be done on cyber grants? I see the date field, but I'm not able to fill it. These are usually done via email. So the ASC would respond, if you click on the Accent Sandbox in the top right-hand corner of the page, we'll be able to edit the end date, publish the proposal type to the production, and they'd also offer a screenshot. Now, we do understand that sometimes that still may not be enough, or you may be seeing something a little different, even though we do have access to your sandbox. So if you do let us know that, what we will do is we'll schedule a call for you, so that way we can walk you through it. Or if you guys would like, we can also do it for you. Something that's important to know about the ASCs is it's not just things that you guys tell us to do. We want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your product. So we're going to also make sure we do deep dives often. Our check-in calls will also include updates about how your reports are going, how your programs are going. It'll be going over numbers as well. I know at the end of the year, especially with tax coming up and Giving Tuesday, it's really big to make sure you have those numbers right and you have those reports and campaigns running successfully. So will be working in tandem with you constantly throughout that journey as well. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. All right, next one is mine. Nice to meet y'all. As Barry said at the intro, I'm Chris Parks. I run the implementation team with Strategic Philanthropy. So I'm going to take you through basically the proactive design, which is the third component of premium support, as well as another solution that can be added for solution credits and extensions. So it's included a number of platform extensions and solution credits for your customization and maintenance needs. Our technical service team will help you prioritize your design needs. Our offering includes elements such as the extensions, which can be our standard offering, which can be anything from HR feeds, account payable feeds, portlets such as international dollars for doers options, leaderboards, and turnkey solutions of that nature, which are available both in the enhanced option for premium support as well as the premium support, premier support option. Go to the next slide. So what is the difference between both solution credits and extensions? Well, side by side, if you kind of give us a indication of this. Extensions are very easy in that they're turnkey, meaning we've already went through comparing our years of experience on what has been requested year over year, what works, what doesn't. They're maintained, meaning as you need changes to these features year over year, that's all included in the cost. And these items are all available to you in a list. Solution credits, they can cover extensions as well, but they can also cover things, project management hours, testing. They also can cover custom work, such as custom reports, if there's a custom feed or something of that nature that needed to be worked on, as well as if you already have custom maintenance for other work that you have done on the system that can cover that kind of work. Next slide, please. Take you through a little poll.
It's a little bit of time here to fill it out, but it looks like most people aren't currently working with the professional service team. And then we have a couple of folks that are using the extension packs, but most aren't working with the team yet.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, so why extensions? Well, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of guesswork before. I always like to use the example of food, right? Everybody eats. So before, what happened is, if I use the example of a chocolate cake, so often customers would approach us, I'd like you to make the chocolate cake. Well, what we found is we'd make the chocolate cake and we get to the testing scenario and we'd always validate it, and it was slightly variations of the cake, and we tried to validate this, and it was very hard to support. And then when you made changes, it basically more or less it was very hard to support. But all in all, we all wanted the same thing: a chocolate cake or a vanilla cake or some kind of fundamental of the same thing, right? So of those cakes, right, we created the extensions, which is the pick list of the most commonly requested features, which is what you're seeing here, the CSA functionality, data extract fundraisers, basically what you're seeing on the screen. So it's making it simple for you rather than you trying to figure out what it is exactly you need from the ether. These are things that are tried and true, have been requested amongst all the CSR uh, corporate customers that we've worked with over the years that have worked very well. And these are tuned year over year through whether we encounter bugs or new feature add-ons, and they're adjusted. And like I mentioned before, they do include not only just the usual maintenance that would normally be included in a customization, which would be just keeping it on our server, right? As the program is, sorry, as the software advances, this includes things such as we need to refresh your United Way data each year. If you need to add additional programs, if you need to refresh your match function, those are all included, no additional cost to you, right? Another contrast. So before, the previous challenge was often these did come at a decent cost to you, right? Each item might be somewhere around $10,000, right? So if you were having maybe 3 asks, that could be $30,000. That's not the cost of 3 extensions here. You would require contracts for every change. It would be difficult for the customer, right? Not clear before each purchase. Here, it's simple. You just buy extensions and you don't even need to make the choice ahead of time. You just buy the extension. And as I said before, the maintenance before didn't cover any changes. So now we've made it very clear that it's a pick list, and it's always evolving, right? We listen to the customers, adding to this list, and the sky's the limit. All right, next slide, please. All right, so similar to that, solution credits make it even easier. So solution credits are essentially Bonterra dollars. No, unfortunately, we aren't giving you dollars, but this is basically Bonterra currency. And what you can do with this Bonterra currency, this can cover things like scoping, right? If you want to come to us and just you have a very simple idea and you want us to help you evolve that, we can do that. We can go through the requirements with you. This can cover your development. This can cover project management time, the configuration. You want to build programs, right? Rather than pay for each configuration item separately. This can cover testing, training. So rather than all these ad hoc requests being separate items in contracts, instead of doing that and contracting per item, you can intentionally just buy credits at the start of a year. Many of our customers, as repeatedly over the years, has said, I'd like, we have budget year ends. I'd like to pay you X amount of dollars. And this is actually, it's not hypothetical. They have budgets that end. We need to get rid of this money. I know this sounds like too good to be true, right? We need to get rid of this money because otherwise it needs to transfer another department. And that money needs to go someplace. So we would like to pay you this, and we'll be able to use it, pull from it later. Well, that money, those funds could then be used to cover something. So it would go into a contract like this, and they can pull from those funds. Well, that's where solution credits are fantastic. It's more or less a retainer model that they can cover later to do the configuration, to do the testing, really whatever needs to take place. So how this will work, we go to the next slide, please, Barry. How this will work is there's an exchange rate, right? If you needed to do a day of testing, that's 2 credits. If you need to do a day of development, it's 3 credits. right? And so on. And based on how many credits you're purchasing, you as the customer will benefit, right? So as you purchase more credits, there's more savings. So the benefits, as I explained, there's an initial SOW, statement of work, but if you are purchasing these one-off, right? So if you're buying a portlet and a report and a feed, previously, each one of those things could be separate contracts. Based on who the customer is, that could be very difficult with procurement and legal and all the different components and people involved. However, this could be one-time thing with solution credits. This makes it much more efficient process. Okay, there's no minimum use. So, meaning you can come to us later after the purchase solution credits and only use a few credits. Okay, you purchase the package that fits your needs. And you can, like I said before, yes, you can buy just an extension pack or buy solution credits, which again, it can cover things like configuration, testing, or extensions, right? And you actually do save on using extensions versus go the custom route. So as an example, put this into real terms for you. An extension HR feed, that's 9 credits. A custom email, roughly 9 credits. Criterion, which is basically a validation on well, that's a field on the screen, that's 9 credits. A match function, which would basically be something an employee type, how much should they be matched? That would be 6 credits. A custom feed, maybe we're passing a number of attributes over to a certain team in a company, that would be 10 credits. Training for 8 hours with project management time, 3.5 credits, right? And as you can see by the exchange rate on the right, it varies in regards to how much that would cost based on the credit model you're within. All right, Barry, go on to the next slide, please. All right, so requesting work. So it really could be anybody within the Bonterra company, but here we normally would have it, again, as Katie kind of illustrated, you can certainly work with the ASC, right? That you're working with Kadian's team, and you need to have any of this work done. You work with Kadian's fine ASCs, and you need to build an extension. She will certainly work with us, and we'll get started. If you certainly don't have an ASC, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, and that's too bad if you don't, but it's okay. We won't judge you much. I'm only playing. Nonetheless, you'll work with your support or CSM, and we'll put a request in. And we have a quick SLA. Somebody made a question on SLA. It's basically response time. We'll respond to your request within 2 days, and we'll get you set up, providing we can size it right away. We'll get you signed with the project team within 14 days, truthfully much quicker. And usually within development, within 30 days, get you started. Routed to a professional service team, my team. Usually the way the process works, it's pretty painless. You'll get an email from the team, set up a 30-minute discovery call. We'll tell you how many credits it's going to be. If you want to do it, you'll give us the thumbs up. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. And then we get started, and it's simple as that. That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. And we've got one last interactive poll here. So we've given you a lot of information, and at this point, we're kind of, we want to take the temperature of the room here. Is there anything that is intriguing you, above and beyond any of these? Is there one of these that stands out, or is it everything? Well, in this case, you're only allowed one choice, so can't get too greedy. If you see one in here that is really intriguing you, this is just the beginning of the conversation, right? So you have an opportunity to kind of take what you've learned here and think about it, and then luckily you've got partners on our side that you're already engaged with. You can continue those conversations, myself included, with the sales and solutions team. It's a lot of exciting stuff, and have kind of just really starting the conversation with you here. So now we are going to go on to some Q&A, and Ashley, I understand that we've got a few questions that have come in over the course of the session, and let's find out what those are.
Absolutely. Well, just want to say folks are mostly interested in the advanced support consulting. So it's kind of where most people were landing. But yeah, let's go ahead and transition over to Q&A here. The first question, and I might propose this to you, Barry, if the first question comes from Mia, and Mia asked, can we start with enhanced support and then later upgrade to Premier if we decide we need more help?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, at any time, you can decide if you maybe were a little more conservative in thinking that maybe enhanced would be enough to get you going, and then you realize that you kind of have grander designs. Then upgrading to Premier is absolutely no problem at all, and you can make the move up to that tier at any point.
Awesome. Good to know. The second question we got from Taylor, she asked Anne specifically, in the annual strategic planning included with that Premier support, what kind of goals and KPIs do you usually help with?
Yeah, so this is going to look different for every company. I can give an example. So say you are a pharmaceutical company and you've looked at the participation in your employee volunteering program, and you see that you get great participation from certain departments, like maybe your marketing team and your G&A team, people are participating, but you don't get a lot of participation from your lab employees. So we might set a goal to increase their participation incrementally over the year, making this up, but maybe we choose to increase it to 20%. And then for strategic projects that could come out of that, we might think about, a targeted communications plan, and then thinking through some volunteer events that would fit their interests and their schedules more. So trying to really target participation of those employees and bring up overall participation in the program. I hope that helps.
Awesome. I'm sure that helped. That was great. The last question that I'm seeing here, or the most recent question I'm seeing here is from Dylan. And Dylan asked, I'm not sure who my account manager is. How can I find out who that is?
Well, Dylan, we're happy to help. Basically, you or anyone that's attending the session that is kind of in that same position, you want to find out who your account manager is, then just drop a line in the Q&A, and we are going to be following up as soon as we can after the session, and keep the wheels turning here. So we'll be happy to engage with you and make sure you get the info that you need.
Wonderful. And I want to give folks here, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions that are continuing to roll through, but I want to give folks just a couple seconds here to trickle those in, any last minute questions. But while they do that, everyone here, Barry and Katie and Chris, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you for such a helpful presentation on kind of learning more about what offerings we have for our CSR folks. And folks on the line, thank you for your time and your engagement. We had a couple of polls here, which always love seeing the engagement. Makes for a fun session. So we definitely really appreciate it. And folks, I want to say, if there aren't any additional questions that are rolling through, if we didn't get to your question, please feel free to reach out, or we will follow up with you offline after today's session, and we'll kind of continue the conversation, answer any questions that maybe have arisen from this. And again, want you all to be on the lookout for the recording of this session. We did record it, and we'll be sending that out to your email sometime next week. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to reference it, if you want to go back to anything in particular, you'll be more than welcome to do that. But with that, folks, again, if there aren't any last minute questions that we can address here live and that we'll address afterwards, I want to thank you guys for your time this afternoon, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon or morning again, depending on where you all are at. And we hope to see you at our next session. Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.